Well, good evening. You're watching the Back Talk Bros. I am the K in Back Keys. And on this episode number 15 of Back Talk, we are reviewing the Chiefs beating the Dolphins in the Wildcard game. We're previewing the Chiefs traveling to Buffalo to play the Bills for the Divisional Round game. We're going to hit your chat, questions, and more on this episode. Stay with me as I hit the intro.
Y'all ready for them Chiefs? Y'all ready for them Chiefs?
And we want to thank you guys for being here with us tonight. Gooch should be here sometime soon. And I'm not sure about Aaron. But and as you guys can see, I don't know if we'll do this or not, but I did drop the link to be on the show if someone from the chat wants to join us tonight for a couple minutes or whatever, talk about something from the Chiefs and Dolphins or Chiefs and Bills, whatever the case may be. So, yeah. All right. Chiefs playing the Dolphins. Wild card weekend here. I'm going to go ahead and get started as we wait on Gooch. I think the funnest thing was watching L'Jarius Sneed bully Tyreek Hill. I don't know that there was anything funnier, and it's nothing against Tyreek. Even if it hadn't been Tyreek, it still would have been funny, but it's kind of twice as funny given the fact that it was Tyreek. And especially the one play where he knocks him to the ground and pancakes him, and then Tyreek gets up and then he pushes him again. It was just fun to watch that level of intensity from the defense, which I guess in hindsight shouldn't surprise us because that's kind of what was making Travis so feisty during training camp, like that level of intensity from the defense. At the time I didn't like it so much. Travis didn't like it so much, so I didn't like it so much. But now I think I like it a lot more, seeing the product on the field from the defense practicing that way. The weird thing, though, in thinking about that, right, is it makes me think about all of training camp. We had John Ross on this roster, and John Ross looked around at the rest of the receivers we had, and he said, basically, I'm done in the NFL. I'm not even going to try anymore. There's no way I'm making this roster with the group of guys around me that's here. There's no way I'm making this roster. And it's like, how did our offense get to the point it got? Because practicing against our defense should have been a great test. Practicing against our defense should have been a great test and revealed the deficiencies in our offense before we got to the regular season and started seeing them. I don't know. Was our defense just playing our offense how we expected defenses were going to play us? Is that where the confusion came in? Where is the disconnect, right? Because you would think as great as our defense plays, then our offense getting to practice against those guys would have made our offense much better, would have made our wide receivers much better, or would have revealed very early on some of the struggles that our wide receivers were going to go on to have, some of the struggles our offense in general was going to go on to have. So I don't know. It's kind of a curious thing there to me. But yeah, might be something that we never get answered. But yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect in this game. Um I have a lot of respect for every team that we play. Basically, every team in the NFL. I have a lot less respect for some of the fans and fan bases that are absolutely idiotic. But the teams themselves, I have a lot of respect for. A lot of respect for the Dolphins. I expected them to make different adjustments for this game. Um, but all in all, um, kudos to the offense, kudos to the defense, kudos to special teams, especially Harrison Butker and Tommy Townsend, because if we saw one thing in this game, it was that the Dolphins punter was having a much harder time punting the ball than Tommy Townsend. So give him credit for that. Especially as someone who went to the University of Florida. Not sure where is Tommy from Florida. If Holly was in here right now, she could give me the bio. Yes, he was born in Orlando. Um, oh, he went to high school, I believe, in Florida. Um, I believe graduated from the University of Florida. But give him props because, and maybe it's Dave Tove who deserves those props, but Tommy wasn't having the same shanking problem that the Dolphins punter was having in this game, which was huge for field position. We had a huge uh, field advantage because of the shanking that was occurring in this game. So, yeah. Um, Travis had a few drops. We still had some head scratching moments from some receivers, but all in all, it was a really good game. We threw the ball a lot more than I think most of us expected, especially with the wind chills. Give the receivers credit for that. There were some great catches in this game. Uh, Namely, there's one that sticks out in my mind by Rashee Rice. That was a great one. McCole Hardman had a great one. Um, Not deep ball, but he had a great one on a short route, if I recall correctly. Um, Offensive line, Jawan Taylor got uh, a touchdown taken away from a block in the back. Um, that probably shouldn't have been one. And that, yeah, I originally was not happy with Jawan Taylor for that, but after seeing video of Jawan Taylor getting pushed in the back as he's reaching out by Deshaun Hand, I believe, pushed Jawan Taylor into the player, and that's what drew the flag. It's kind of hard to be mad at Jawan Taylor for that. Regardless, though, he still was the most penalized player in the NFL. Had the most penalties for a player in the NFL since like 2013, 2015, something like that. They need to work on some things in this offseason. Yeah. And I joked around about this. Someone on Twitter uh, was annoyed about the Bills game the Bills and Steelers game getting moved back, and how that gave us one less day to know who we were going to play and to prep for them. Which, in one way is fair, because the Bills knew before they were even supposed to play on Sunday that if they won, they would be facing the Chiefs, so they could get started early. And then the game got bumped to Monday. But here's kind of my take on it. The Chiefs didn't necessarily need to know who they were going to play, because they could still practice the things that it didn't matter who the opponent was, that they needed to practice. And that is red zone offense and deep ball tracking by the wide receivers. Like those two things. You know what? Fine. The Bills playing an extra day later now. Fine. Let's go out and let's spend our day practicing red zone offense and tracking the freaking deep ball, because those two things are some of the biggest issues right now. That's the difference between the Chiefs blowing teams out, and winning what on paper look like really close games. Gotta turn red zone possessions into touchdowns instead of field goals. Gotta connect on some of those deep balls. The more deep balls you connect on, listen, I mean, they're field changers, they're momentum changers, but they also change how defenses have to call their games, because now all of a sudden they have to respect the deep ball. And we've been talking about this for weeks now. If you don't have to set on the 9 route, it makes it a lot easier to just sit back at an intermediate depth and drive on everything in front of you, because you don't have to worry about backpedaling. Well, once you do have to start worrying about backpedaling, it increases the efficiency of every other route, because you can explode off the ball and the defensive back has to respect that. So, but yeah, that's my take on the Dolphins game. Donovan Smith played in this game, which to me was an advantage. The Dolphins brought in Justin Houston. They have Emmanuel Ogbah and Melvin Ingram, right? All three former Kansas City Chiefs. And to me, having Donovan Smith in instead of Wanye Morris was an advantage, because whereas Wanye might be better with more athletic guys, Donovan is a savvy veteran, and all three of those guys are savvy veterans. They're not going to beat you with speed and athleticism, right? It's not like maybe Jerry Hughes could do that, but there's not many guys who are that old and savvy who still have the athletic acumen to be beating players. So having Donovan Smith out there against those guys, to me, was an advantage. We got the hand the ball off to Pacheco game that we were wanting, and he didn't disappoint. Like I said, there were some great catches by the offense in this game. Defense did an awesome job. Kudos to special teams. Like, not much more to say about this game, but yeah. So that does it for me as far as looking at recapping the Chiefs and Dolphins game. Going to start getting into previewing the Chiefs and Bills. We're not there yet, but what adjustments do the Chiefs need to do to stop the Bills? We'll get to that. kind of in the midst of our preview here. So the Bills, not completely unlike the Dolphins, are banged up. They're missing some players. They have played basically I want to say about 6 straight playoff games so far. Once the fluke win against the Chiefs happened, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but it is a fluke win in that the Chiefs were an offensive offsides call away from winning that game. Let's go over all the advantages the Bills had in that game, and it still took an offensive offsides for them to win. The Bills were coming off a bye week, so they had an extra 7 days of rest, an extra 7 days to prepare for the Chiefs. The Chiefs were in, I want to say, week 3 of 6 weeks with a negative net rest disadvantage coming into this game. They had just lost Drew Tranquil to, was it a concussion, I believe? Nick Bolton just got activated off of IR and was making his first game back. Donovan Smith was not playing this game. Isaiah Pacheco, the cog to the Chiefs offense, was not playing in this game. There may be 1 or 2 more things I'm forgetting here, but those are those are the main things. Like the 2 main things were the Bills were coming off of a bye week and were rested and had an extra week to prepare and game plan for the Chiefs. The other main thing was no Pacheco, right? If you want to throw in there the middle linebacker situation, 3 things, fine. Those are 3 big things. Chiefs defense is going to be different with Nick Bolton out there, not coming back from injury and shaking off rust. Chiefs defense is going to be different with Drew Tranquil out there. I think we're going to see some fun things. The last time the Chiefs played, they weren't necessarily trying to sack Josh Allen. They were doing a lot of just kind of engaging with the offensive line. Willie Gay was spying Josh Allen, and the coverage was doing its job, and they would get Josh Allen to take off scrambling. And as soon as he did, Willie Gay was there to meet him. The defensive line would all of a sudden disengage, and it was on. If this sounds like a familiar game plan to you, it should, because teams have done this to Mahomes now for, I want to say, about a season and a half or so. Maybe starting with Ezrith Evero of the Broncos. I think he might have been the first one. I could be wrong on that, though. But teams started doing this to Mahomes, where they were just engaging and they had someone spying, and they were waiting for Mahomes to just get a little uneasy in the pocket and take off scrambling. And then all of a sudden, here came the spy to bring the pressure. It'll be interesting to see if Spags has the same kind of strategy in this game, given that we're going to have Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquil in this game, which I'm excited about. I've been saying now for about 4 days, the one matchup, the one play that I want to see is Josh Allen scrambling, staying on his feet, and he and Nick Bolton having a collision to see who wins that collision. That's the biggest thing that I want to see in this game. Nick Bolton Josh Allen running straight at each other. One man stays up, the other man falls down. Who will it be? Hey, Daryl, glad that you're with us here tonight. Gooch should be here sometime. Not sure about Aaron, but yeah, I mean, this is going to be an interesting game. Um, it's really hard to know who's going to play in this game. Looking at the Buffalo Bills injury report, I mean, they're not really kind of like what we saw last week with the Dolphins. I think there's some gamesmanship going on. A lot of players listed um, as questionable. A lot of guys didn't participate in today's practice, which was just a walkthrough practice. Um, which is kind of a weird one, right? Like, how should I take that? Right? Because on the one hand, it's just a walkthrough practice. So do they really need to do it? No. On the other hand, it was just a walkthrough practice. So why couldn't they participate? It's kind of hard to tell how much is just like gamesmanship. Could they have participated and they were told not to so that they could be listed on there as that they didn't participate? It's just kind of hard to know, but they do have a lot of guys listed as questionable. Um, losing Mike Milano earlier this season and Tre'Davious White were big, but you got to give the Bills kudos for overcoming those injuries. Um, Jordan Phillips on injured reserve. Just a lot of guys, especially in the secondary, um, questionable. Gabe Davis is questionable. Sam Martin is questionable. The Bills signed their former punter Matt Hack back. So maybe that's just insurance. Or maybe it's telling. I don't know. It should be interesting. Um, we've all seen Josh Allen enough to know that, he can do some Mahomesian things. If you let him get outside the pocket, he can extend plays. He can scramble for big yards. When he's scrambling, the difference between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes is Mahomes runs just like an extra couple steps faster than the guy chasing him. When Josh Allen is scrambling, it's like Derrick Henry running the ball. Um, both guys are great, though, at still looking downfield. And if they find a guy open before they've completely crossed the line of scrimmage, they can still get that ball off for a huge gain. Um, you know, I think the biggest question in this game, because I think by now most of us have a lot of faith in our defense. We still have to see some things from the offense. As I said, red zone offense, deep ball tracking. We need to see some receivers catching some deep balls. Got to see it. We got to see the red zone offense firing on all cylinders. Kind of like we saw against the Eagles in the Super Bowl last year. Maybe it comes out. Maybe it's been a break glass in case of emergency type of thing. I don't know. But we got to see it. What adjustments do we need to make to stop the Bills? I already said some of the things that Chiefs did last time we played them. I think the bigger thing though is last time we played them, we were playing without Drew Tranquil. We were playing with a rusty Nick Bolton. So defensively, you know, some people have floated out there that both guys should be on the field at all, should be on the field basically the whole game together. Whether that means that Willie comes off or Leo Chanel comes off. And I don't remember if it was Nick Jacobs or might have been Matt Derrick. Might have been Matt Derrick. One of those guys was talking about this idea because what you gain from it is both of those guys are Mike linebackers, right? And so you can line them up, put them on the field, and you can screw with Josh Allen's head. You can make Josh Allen look at Nick Bolton. You can make Josh Allen look at Drew Tranquil and just play with his head the whole game to where he has to decide on this play which one of these guys is actually the Mike linebacker. And you can just screw with them. So I think that's an interesting idea. We have to have a plan for Dalton Kincaid. The plan for the most part for Josh Allen worked last time. We were forcing Josh Allen to throw completions. We were hurrying. The biggest thing is, right, Daryl, we only lost by 3, right? That's kind of the biggest thing is like, so they have a whole extra week to rest. They have a whole extra week to game plan for us. Bolton comes back rusty. There's no Drew Tranquil, no Donovan Smith. So you can beat up on a rookie in Wanye Morris. And we don't have Isaiah freaking Pacheco for the game. Like, that's the heart and soul of your offense. That's the engine for your offense, especially this 2023 season. We don't have these guys. We lose by 3 because Kadarius Toney can't line up on side. Like, that's it. So I'm not even sure, like, what do you say to what other adjustments we need to make defensively? Offensively, keep doing what we need to build on what we were doing the last couple of weeks, last 3 weeks. But like I said, we sure the hell still need to be working on red zone offense and tracking the deep ball. So, and I don't even think that's not a Bill specific adjustment. That's just something that needs to happen. So outside of those things, I'm not sure what adjustment. Just keep doing like we did in the Dolphins game. Don't get away from the run. Run Pacheco down their throats. They got to play us without him last time, and we lost so much of our offense. We barely had an offensive identity then. So that's what I got. But we're joined now by the great one, Gooch. Good to see you, brother.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
What do you think, Gooch? You just joined us, but you want to tackle this one? Hannah asked, what adjustments do we need to make to stop the Bills?
First, they're going to need snowshoes because Buffalo got another 5 inches today. And I'm so glad I'm not traveling to New York as much as I was. Honestly, I don't think, other than, and I think you touched on it, other than keeping Tranquil or Gay as a spy on Josh, I really don't think there's much they should change. Like, I mean, you could come downhill.
They did that last game.
Well, you could come downhill on Tua more because you knew Tua wasn't going to run because he's scared of getting another concussion. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't wish, I'm not calling him.
And they don't have a tight end.
I'm not trying to say he's a scaredy cat or whatever like that, but when you've had like a concussion that puts you out for 6 games and the rest of the year, like, I would be nervous running too. You know what I'm saying? So you could almost come downhill a little more, but you just make sure that Willie or Tranquil don't have a guy that can, come off the line and block them. and you just use them to keep an eye on Josh and just keep doing what you're doing. Like, if Snead could keep if Snead could keep Tyreek in check, he can for sure keep Diggs in check. Tyreek is much faster. Diggs has better hands and probably his routes are more crisp. But Snead can hang with he hung with Justin Jefferson and all of them. Like, so all he has to do is bring that effort, and I think it's a close game. The Chiefs and the Bills are legit, like, at this point, Chargers and Chiefs. Like, every time we play them, it's a game. Regardless of what the records are or anything like that, it's always a game. And I think it's going to be another good, close one.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing.
Daryl, hang on before you say that. Daryl, first, Hannah, that's 5 inches on top of like the 5 feet they got this week. And Daryl, they ran him 24 times this week. That's why I didn't say that. Because they didn't have to change. They won't have to change that. Just keep feeding them the ball because it's going to be cold again. I guess it's the night game, and they're saying it's going to be negative wind chill in New York for that game. The Chiefs just played in that, so just
it's going to feel nice and breezy for that one.
Right.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that's how I think since Friday until last night, yesterday afternoon, which was weird. Like last night, I think, was the first time we didn't have a negative wind chill. It was like negative 25 Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like half of Monday. So today it's like 15, 20, 25. The wind chill was like 20 today. And I'm like, I'm not wearing my coat out. I'm just wearing my jacket. I'm good, And I'm telling you, the week before that happened, I wouldn't have been wearing this jacket in that same temperature. So, like, you get acclimated to it pretty fast. But what I was going to say, Gooch, is the other thing, talking about Tua and the Dolphins, the differences there. The other thing is they don't have a tight end. They had someone like Noah Fant next year. That offense is different.
Who?
The Dolphins. They don't have a tight end. You know what I mean? Like, if they add a tight end and they start utilizing that tight end the way the rest of that tree does, right? The way the 49ers do, the way the Packers do.
Well, they had, first of all, Hyanna, and secondly, they had Gesicki, and they let him go. Is it Gesicki or Gesicki? I really don't know how you say that one.
I think it's Gesicki, but
they had him, and he was an above average tight end.
Well, yeah.
The problem comes now because they're already saying they want to get an extension done with Tua. So you're going to do an extension on Tua. You're already paying Tyreek, and you're going to have to pay Jalen. You've got Jalen. Is it Waddle? Yeah, Jalen Waddle. You've already got Jalen Ramsey, and you've already got Xavier Howard on a big contract too. Is Achan's a rookie, but you're going to have to give Mostert some money if you keep them, and that line isn't going to pay itself. I mean, somewhere you're going to run out of money.
Yeah, I haven't really dug that deeply into their contract situations there.
I know. I was just like, I saw a notification that they're like, oh, we want to get an extension done with Tua and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I don't know if Tua's worth $40 million because that's what he's going to ask for.
Nope, I wouldn't pay it. Dan, I don't know if you heard Dan talking about that last night on Dan Talks Football, which you guys should check out. We got it mentioned in the description there. But he was talking about how the Dolphins and he thinks the Dolphins and Broncos should make a trade and swap Tua and Russ. Because he thinks that that Tua with his accuracy is kind of like a left-handed, more of kind of like a left-handed Drew Brees and fits what Sean Payton wants to do. And that Russ, since he throws that beautiful deep ball and you have a run-heavy offense where he's protected, that he would be better with Mike McDaniel in Miami. But yeah, I think no matter what, you got to spy Josh Allen, Gooch. And what I was saying was earlier before you got on is Spags did spy him with Willie Gay in the first matchup. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Drew Tranquill back for this game because Drew was out in the first game. So would they use Leo Chanel more as a down lineman in this game, like an edge rusher, and have 3 linebackers out there? Like it would be interesting to see what Spags has in hand because I think it was Matt Derrick and Nick Jacobs did a show a couple of days ago. One of them was talking about keeping both guys out there just to screw with Josh. I don't know how much you heard when you came on, but just to screw with Josh. So he's constantly having to figure out who the mic is, right? And he can't just do it by looking for Bolton's number because you have Bolton and Tranquill out there, and on any given play, it could be one who's the mic or it could be the other one, and just doing that the whole game, which I like because anything that adds an extra layer of mental processing leads to exhaustion for the quarterback and can lead to mistakes. So I think it's a great idea having those two out there and continuing to use Gay as your spy. But I did my recap of Chiefs Dolphins, Gooch. If you want to go and hit your highlights of Chiefs and Dolphins, you can do that. If you're able to right now. So, Daryl, did you get some ice fishing done at all this last week? With all these temperatures, I know it was as cold where you guys were as where we're at. So, um, yeah, guys, I don't really have much more. We played the Dolphins before that matchup. We played the Bills before this matchup. So, to me, it's just little adjustments, right? And most of the adjustments we got were just getting guys back. So, hey, Scott, I wasn't at the game. If I had been at the game, I probably would have. I've had some icicles hanging from me this week. I've kind of had my Andy moments there when I was outside for more than 30 seconds at a time. But yeah, not from being able to watch the game. Gooch sold his tickets. So instead of being a friend and bringing one of us, I'm just giving them a hard time, guys. I've honestly never been ice fishing, Daryl. I've seen people do it. To me, it's just a little bit too much for me. I'm not even a big fishing fan to begin with, and I probably shouldn't say that. At some point now, Aaron's going to have to pop in. But the idea of setting out on something that could break under my fat butt, breaking through water and drowning under a sheet of ice is not my way that I have any intentions whatsoever of dying. So I will avoid that as much as possible. Heading to Detroit, you can do ice fishing when you're there. I assume that's what you're saying. You're going to do some ice fishing in Detroit. Scott asks you, Daryl, do you have any tips for Ty and his boys to ice fish since they're now in their off season? I can guarantee you that they're just as afraid of ice fishing as I don't know. Tyreek's kind of crazy, so maybe not. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're not going anywhere where it's going to be freezing for a while again.
All right, sorry about that. I was
taking a nap.
No, not taking a nap.
Sitting on the throne.
Handling some other stuff. No, not on the throne this time. But I wanted to touch on your left-handed Drew Brees comment. And he's as accurate as Drew Brees, but Drew Brees could move around in the pocket, and he gets flustered when the rush cometh.
And Gooch would know as our resident Alabama fan and expert. Scott says talent. I don't know if he's talking about Tua, me, growing icicles off your beard, ice fishing. I'm sure he's talking about any and all of those things except for Gooch.
Shout out to Mike McCarthy for keeping his job another year.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. Hey, I'm not going to complain about teams keeping coaches that aren't that great. So I'm fine with it. If the Eagles do the same thing, I'm fine with that. Did you all see the superstition about why the Bills have been winning? Nope. Have you seen some superstition about why the Bills are winning, Gooch? That is a great point, though, that I think I did mention it.
I have not.
Yeah, you're going to have to tell us, Hannah.
Right, you're going to have to fill us in.
But yeah, I did mention at some point, the Bills have been playing for their lives for about 6 or 7 weeks now. Like every game was win or you're missing the playoffs, right? So, Gooch, do you think that mentally that's going to catch up to them maybe by this game of, constantly having to play what might amount to mentally like 6 straight weeks of playoff games?
Yeah, it's going to eventually weigh on you. The stress of winning you're in, or basically win and go home 6 straight weeks. And it's not like they've been blowouts. They've been playing a couple of those games they should have lost. Obviously give credit to them. They found a way to win. But yeah, that's hard for normal people to do at their regular jobs. Just 6 straight days, or for what would amount to them, 6 days of constant high stress So imagine, millions on the table, bonus checks and stuff like that. Eventually you're going to hit a wall where you're not going to play your best.
Yeah, before we hit what Hannah said here, just to build off of that though, Gooch, do you think that there's also any extra pressure on the Bills since this is a home playoff game? Like everyone's trying to build this up as if all the pressure is on Kansas City. Mahomes has never played a game on the road. Well, what do you think Super Bowls are? But I partially get what they're saying. There's a difference between the two to a certain extent. Like you don't have 70,000 fans that are all on your side. The Super Bowl, though, is still fairly split. So, you could argue that going to 3 Super Bowls is pretty good preparation for that, or the fact that, Patrick Mahomes actually plays on the road outside of the playoffs and has done pretty good there. But do you think there's some extra built-in pressure because of the fact this game's at home for the Bills? Like, I think people keep trying to, say that all the pressure's on Mahomes because he's playing on the road. But I think there's a good chance that there's more pressure on the Bills because this game is at home for them. Am I crazy?
It's not even about it being a home game. The pressure is all on the Bills regardless. The Chiefs are playing with what I tell you, they're playing with house money. You know what I'm saying? Like the receiving core this year. Well, I'm sorry. MVS, Sky, and in some cases, Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, like that receiving core has been the starters because they haven't. Obviously, Ross has missed 6 weeks, and obviously you want to try and work him back in. McCole doesn't like to run out his routes, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. So this is technically the year that we should have had last year. This is the rebuilding, retooling year. So, and with the way that they've been playing all season, to get this far, there's no pressure on the Chiefs. Because while everybody will tell you, we expected to be here, you know what I'm saying? And I'm sure they do. Every team expects to be in the divisional round or whatever every single year. But I'm pretty sure if you realistically look at it, it was like, okay, maybe we're not as good this year as we have been. And I'm not talking about they need to be the Tyreek Hill offense, but they have been a little less than, even though it's a top 10 offense. So I think the pressure is all on the Bills. Like, this is the year that you can get them for sure, or you should be able to get them for sure based on metrics and stuff like that and the way the receiving core has been playing.
You don't think that the Bills might feel like they're playing with house money since like a little bit after the bye week, they were basically hung out to dry?
No. I don't think they believe that. I think that now that it's the Chiefs and everybody wants to bring up the whole, the Bills beat them in the regular season, that's great. But every time they face the Chiefs in the playoffs, we sent them home. You know what I'm saying? So the Chiefs aren't scared of the Bills because the Chiefs are like, look, first of all, we're probably not, and they'll tell you, they're not playing the way that they could play or the way that they should be playing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure they believe, now obviously the Miami game is different because defense, championship caliber defense travels. Every team we've played has had a great defense. We just managed to find a weakness in those Super Bowls outside of Tampa when we didn't have an offensive line and nobody changed the game plan. But nobody expected Rice to pop off for 130. You know what I'm saying? Kelsey got his 71. MVS actually caught a pass. Like Justin Watson has his one great catch every couple games. You know what I'm saying? And they were able to take deep shots. But, I don't believe the Chiefs The Chiefs are confident. And I know they think they should win, but I don't think you're going to hear about helmets breaking and people throwing around stuff in the locker room, blah, 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 if they lose. I mean, sure, they'll be pissed. They got sent home, but if they lose, all Veach is going to do is try to find a way to retool and maybe bring a big name wide receiver in for number one. Hello, Mike Evans. But if the Bills lose in Orchard Park, in the divisional round, to Mahomes and a team that on paper probably isn't as good offensively as Buffalo is, I think McDermott's gone.
If that happens, I think he should.
Ever since you said something to me in our text with me, you, and Dub, if they lose this game, Belichick to Buffalo?
I really don't want to be right about that, but to me, it would make sense.
Well, think about it. He was in Cleveland, didn't have a great quarterback, wasn't really great. He got to New England. Well, he took the Jets job for a day, then he went to New England. He had Drew Bledsoe, who just took them to a Super Bowl, signed a $100 million contract. Then he got Tom Brady, 20 years of dominance, regardless of how you feel about them, 20 years of dominance. He loses Brady. He gets average quarterbacks after that. They can't win. But his defenses are still good. So what does that tell you? He interviewed with Atlanta. He likes Atlanta. He's like, he wants a project. He's lying because he's probably only going to play. He's probably only going to coach 3 or 4 more years.
Right.
So if he goes to Atlanta, I know you don't think Desmond Ridder or Tyler Heineke are your quarterbacks, which means you have to draft one. Now, I don't know where Atlanta falls. I know they're a top 10 pick, but you're not going to get the good ones like Drake May, Jalen Daniels, or I'm going to hold the jury out on Caleb. I don't know how great Caleb's going to be, even though everybody fawns over him. The Chargers' job is there. All you have to do is call them up. They give you what you want. So obviously you don't want to go to San Diego because there ain't even been a sniffling of you even interviewing with San Diego. So you're either waiting on Buffalo or Washington.
I still think the Eagles make sense too, but to me, Buffalo makes the most sense. And you know, I'm with you. If Bill said he wants a project, I don't believe him. And I don't think that should be what he's looking after, right? Like you said, he has a few years left, in my opinion. I don't see him coaching more than another 3, maybe 4 years at most, if that. So you want a team that has a fairly ready roster and has their quarterback. Like, if you're Bill Belichick, you should be looking at this the same way that Tom Brady did when he chose the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He chose a stacked team that was basically just himself away and had a pretty good draft as well that season, right? That's what Bill Belichick should be looking for, which is why I threw it out there. If the Bills lose, Belichick is an upgrade over every head coach other than maybe Andy. Maybe you can throw out another coach or two. He's not going to upgrade Mike Tomlin anyway because they've only had 3 coaches since like 69. You know, and Belichick's only going to coach a few more years. But you know what? That works out pretty good in Philly because they don't like their coaches to stay more than 3 or 4 years anyway. You know, the Chargers are going to be like 30 million over the cap next year. To me, Buffalo makes sense. You have a pretty good GM already there. You have a quarterback that you've faced now twice a season for the last, 4, 5 seasons, that you've tried to build a defense to stop and not been able to stop. To me, it just makes too much sense. And I don't know how. And it's nothing against Sean McDermott. Shawn is a pretty good coach, right? But and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, Gooch. But Sean McDermott is like the Alex Smith of head coaches. He will get you to the playoffs. Oh, I said that and it must have really took Gooch off. Sean McDermott will get you to the playoffs, maybe even get you a win or two every season in the playoffs. But from what I've seen of Sean McDermott, he's not getting you to the Super Bowl. He's not getting you a Super Bowl win. Bill Belichick is available. You got to try that.
Now, don't forget the ultimate reason, because the hoodie has a good little Gooch Petty in him. What better way to stick it to New England? Be like, you shouldn't have let me go. I still have more left in the tank, than to stay in the AFC East and beat the crap out of Gerard Mayo and New England for the next 3 or 4 years that he's there. And he's not going to get booed going back to New England. Like, they're going to love him there. So now the opposing coach, he's the hero, homecoming.
Yeah, I forgot the petty point there. Daryl said, but is Bill wanting to be the GM? He's not a good GM. You know, Daryl, I don't know if any owner is going to offer him the opportunity to be doing that. But specifically, if you go to a team that is ready as you want, with the exception of the Chargers, they already have a set GM, right? The two teams that I mentioned that I think are the perfect fits, they already have some of the best GMs in the NFL in Brandon Beane and Howie Roseman. You're not taking their power away. And Bill's 72 years old now. He shouldn't be GM. He needed to give that up a few years ago. Not to say that the GM shouldn't work well with him, but to me, those are the two that make the most sense. And I still think that if one team didn't get him, that team should then be going after Mike Vrabel. Like those two guys. If there's a playoff team out there that has a great roster, shouldn't have lost, but lost a game in the playoffs, and that coach hasn't won them a Super Bowl, well, even if they made the Super Bowl, like Sirianni is not better than Vrabel or Belichick. Sean McDermott isn't better than Vrabel or Belichick. Just my opinion on it. So Hannah gives us a story here. Gooch, supposedly a fan fell into the pit where the new stadium is being built. Fan fell into a pit about 5 weeks ago, and since then, they've tried to get at least one person down there. Interesting story. I'm not superstitious, so it should be fun to see how they get a fan down there this week if they have that much snow in that pit. Hey, Mike. Mike in Sweden is with us. Hey, Mike, how was it Thailand, right? You're not still on vacation, are you? I think it was Thailand. I'm guessing the weather's a little bit different in Sweden, but I'm not sure. Scott asks, who's the Zebra crew for this game and what impact will that have? Scott, the crew for this game is headed by Shawn Hockley, son of Ed Hockley, former NFL referee. I believe I saw the Chiefs are 8-2 in games that Shawn has called as the head official in their career. Oh, Mike is still in Thailand. All right. Well, if you're gonna go, might as well enjoy it. So, um, I don't know Shawn's what the Bills record is off the top of my head in those games, but I do know that the Bills so the Bills had Shawn Hochuli for like 2 games in 2018. Didn't have him again until last year, 2022 season. Had him for a game in 2022 and a game in 2023. I mean, it's nothing spectacular. Like if you compare the Chiefs to the Bills, like as far as penalties since that 2018 season, it's something like the Bills have gotten called for like 2.5 more penalties a game for like 15 more yards a game, something 18 more yards a game, something kind of ridiculously insignificant like that. Um, the Bills are 1-3 with Shawn Hochuli as the referee, including was it the Eagles game, I believe, which is why Bills fans are up in arms about this. Um, the Buffalo News referred to Shawn Hochuli this morning as Eagles fan. Shawn Hochuli will be referee for Bills versus Chiefs playoff game. So I'll just throw it out there, Scott. The Bills have about 15 built-in excuses that they're already throwing out there, right? One of two things will happen. And Gooch, you can correct me if I'm wrong. One of two things will happen. The Bills will lose, and they will default to these excuses that they've already built in, that they're going to have less rest for this game than Kansas City, that they have all these injuries, that the refs are on Kansas City's side, that Shawn Hochuli's hates the Bills, that the game's being played in cold weather. If the Bills have to move to a neutral site, that'll be one of them. They have all these built-in excuses that they're using. If they lose, their fans will fall back on those excuses. If they manage to win, their fans are still going to use those excuses to build up that win and be like, we won, even though blah, 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 blah. It's what's going to happen, one or the other. Mike says he's trying to miss Sweden winter this year. Hey, I'm with you. I wish Gooch would pick me up on his private jet and take me somewhere warm where I can miss Midwest winter, Midwest United States winter. I don't know how cold it gets there in Sweden, Mike. You have to let us know. But I imagine it gets pretty cold, right? Especially up there's up in the mountains. Mike says he just hopes there's no stupid calls in the game. I mean, that's the funny thing, right, Gooch? Because there's always going to be something that some fan considers a stupid call in the game. I forget who it was, but someone on Twitter today had a very insightful comment, something to the effect of, for every fan, a play comes at an impactful moment in the game, simply, or a call, a penalty comes at an impactful moment in the game simply because in their mind, in that moment, like they write it into their memory as an impactful moment. Like the fact that the penalty occurred itself made it an impactful moment to this fan or that fan. So kind of an interesting way to look at it. And there's some truth to it. Certainly some truth to it. Daryl says the NFL should have full-time refs. I don't know about that. I would like to see a sky judge, though. I would like to see one person who is looking at games, who's making ultimate decisions, so that at least there is some consistency on the subjective calls, right? Kind of like the XFL did with Dean Blandino. It's one guy who is telling the refs what he sees, what the play should be. It's the same guy making the same subjective calls over and over and over again. It's a lot of power for one person, so there's got to be some checks and balances there. But I liked the XFL's process. I liked them having a cameraman in there where you can listen to the sky judge watching the replays, looking at the different angles in slow motion, talking out loud in real time to the refs, where you can see it and hear it, what he's seeing, what the call should be, and why. I think to me, that would be more impactful and beneficial than having full-time refs. I don't think you need full-time refs if you have that person. What do you think, Gooch? I don't know if you guys saw XFL games, but that's what they did this last season. I thought it was a great idea.
I think both. I think the sky judge is a good idea, and I still think you need full-time refs. Maybe not all of them, but you need a crew. Like, you keep your part-time guys, obviously, for the regular season, but you have your full-time guys maybe that do the big games and then the playoffs only. But the whole time they're either working a game, working on their craft, or they're supervising the part-timers and giving them stuff they can work on after every game or what they see or whatever like that. I really think the full-time refs, if they were working on it and watching the other guys all year long and, obviously not sitting the regular season, but doing your primetime games, because you have 2 of those or 3 of those every week. There's always one good Sunday night prime, Monday and Thursday. Excuse me. And then those guys, your full-timers, do only the playoffs. That's where they're going full-time. You know what I'm saying? So your most experienced guys, your most trained guys, your most veteran guys, and your full-time
graded guys.
Huh?
Your highest graded refs.
Right. Are the ones doing your biggest money-making games. And then you pick your all-stars, or maybe not even your all-stars, then you take your head refs from all those crews, and those head refs work the Super Bowl.
I'd be fine with that. I think the problem, like if those guys worked regular season games, then you're kind of picking and choosing which games are, I guess, cleaner called. Would that make sense? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know fully what the answer is to refs, because as I've said before at other times, NFL refs are like a director, right? The players are actors. Every play is the script. The NFL referees are directors who have read the script. They're interpreting the script. They kind of have their own vision, right? And that's how every crew is. You can look at NFL ref stats and see this team is more prone to, or this ref crew is more prone to call offensive holding. This ref crew is more prone to call defensive pass interference. This ref crew is more prone to call false starts, like on and on and on, to where like every ref crew has kind of like their own flavor. they have kind of their own things that they let go or they don't call as much. And to me, that's like a director, right? Like you can have 10 directors read the exact same movie script. You're going to get 10 different movies. Even if you have the same actors, you're still going to get 10 different movies. And to me, I think that's kind of the biggest thing. And maybe the thing that really irks people the most is they just want one movie. They want the same script, right? They don't necessarily want the NFL to be writing that script like we joke around a lot, about over the last couple of years. But I think that's just what they want is they don't want to see the flavor of the ref being all over the game. Like they don't want to see that much input from the ref determining how you play the game, what happens, these pivotal moments. But I think the bigger question is no matter how you do it, you have to figure out what you're going to call and when. Because the reality is that you cannot call every single rule as it is written in the rule book. You can't do it because you would be throwing a flag for something every single freaking play. That's the reality to it. So how do you make the decision of what you call and when you call it? And do you call, how often do you call it? Do you call it the same way in the first quarter, the fourth quarter, first and goal, third and 17? Like, I think that's the biggest thing. Because I mean, seriously, you can flag somebody for something on basically every play, and nobody wants that. So then what's the answer? Because all people really want is their team to not get penalized. What they ultimately want is their team to win. So what do? I think that's the biggest thing that every fan has to deal with, because as much as we blame the refs, and they certainly give us reason to be pissed off, that's the question that every fan has to ask themselves and answer. Because the ref can throw a flag every freaking play. Nobody wants that. The alternative is not throwing any flags. Nobody wants that. So what does everyone want? You can't just have it so the ref doesn't throw flags on your team. And maybe I'm going too extreme here and people are just like, well, it's really just the subject of plays, right? Should this really be roughing the passer? Is this DPI? Is this OPI or not? Which to me goes back to Sky Judge. One person who looks at every single instance of those plays, because it's one set of eyes. It's one set of eyes looking at every single one of those plays. So they should be, in theory, using the same criteria of judgment on each one of those subjective plays, which is why I think the Sky Judge is your biggest value. Your refs on the field are good for the objective plays. A false start is a false start. Like there's not really much judgment on it. It's either false start or not. Offensive or defensive offsides, it is offensive or defensive offsides. There's not really any subjective gray area to where it's not. It either is or it isn't. I don't know. I don't even know why I went on this tangent, but I think that that's what we all really need to think about when we're thinking about what the answer we really want to the referee problem is. Nobody's discounting that there's a referee problem in the NFL. It's just what is really the solution, and what's a solution that would work and make sense. Two different things. People are way easier, and I'm not picking on anyone. I'm just talking in general, guys. Since there's millions of fans out there of the NFL, like we just think like too generically sometimes on issues. Football, life, politics, whatever. We just think like too generically on issues. And it's easier for us to criticize something than to actually think through how we could possibly arrive at a better, fairer, more objective solution to things. So, Mike, tell us, what is the weather like in Thailand, and what is Sweden's winters like? And again, Daryl, I'm not picking on anyone in this chat. I'm just talking in general, even including myself, because I get pissed at refs just as much as anybody else. Even more pissed off when other fans of other teams try to say that the refs give the Chiefs all the breaks. I should have did a by the numbers for you guys and shown the stuff there that proved that narrative is definitely not true. But I didn't get the stuff for you guys in time, so.
You don't even need to get numbers for that. Jawan Taylor is the most flagged offensive lineman in football. Then called one of the rarest offsides penalties on offensive calls I've ever seen this year, before they started cracking down because Mahomes and Andy said something. And yes, he was offsides, but I think they called it 6 times in the previous 10 years. Something stupid. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed is one of the most flagged cornerbacks in football. Where are all the calls coming from? Oh, I'm sorry. Where are all the favorable calls coming from?
Yeah. Hey, it might actually.
The MVS no catch in Green Bay was a pass interference. We didn't get that call.
We weren't getting barely anything defensively against the Dolphins, and they were getting there way early. It was just crazy. So I did pull up one here, guys. Net impact penalties 2023 season. These are penalties with a greater than or equal to 2.5% win probability change. So penalties that either added or lost 2.5% win probability or more, instead of just looking at penalties, like what kind of impact did they have, trying to pick out at least 2.5%, positive or negative here. Okay. So the left-hand column is the teams that had the biggest net gain. So 32 teams, I'm going to guess. The Texans were 16th, which means that the Bills were 19th at -1. The Chiefs then are 22nd at -3. 26 that have helped them, but 29 that have hurt their win probability by at least 2.5%. And then at the bottom there, Steelers, Dolphins, Titans, Jets, Saints, Patriots, Packers. Like you guys can see. Chiefs were not getting helped out by the refs. Daryl says, but that offensive offside penalty on it, he was offsides, but you never heard of offensive offsides in years until we played Buffalo. Then it seemed they start calling it every week after that. Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of truth to that, right? And the funny thing was, though, there were still plenty of times they didn't call it, right? It was Gooch the next night, right? It was Vikings. Who were the Vikings were playing someone the very next night. It was a Monday Night Football or something, I think. And one of their receivers was lined up either exactly the same amount over as Kadarius Toney was, or even just a small bit more than Kadarius Toney was, and there was a no call. Just crazy. Daryl says, but in the playoffs, they shouldn't be ticky-tacky and let them play the game. Yeah. I mean, we have to kind of like set the parameters for what that means, though, right? Like to what extent do you let them play? You're not like, for instance, you don't just want every single offensive or defensive pass interference to go uncalled, right? So which ones do? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the hard thing. Let me see if I can find my other one here. Oh, here's one. It's not a penalty one, but we can throw this in here just for the fun of it. All of Andy Reid's rookie wide receivers with 250 plus receiving yards in their rookie years. Gooch, do you see who's number one on there? That would be Rashee Rice.
I see that. That's my dog. That's my dog.
And no one can even make he played one more game than Deshaun Jackson. Nope, 16 games. Guys, you don't know how big this is for a receiver in Andy Reid's offense. This is such a big, traditionally, right? Because things are descriptive, not prescriptive. But traditionally, receivers putting up this Rashee Rice number, this Deshaun Jackson number, even this Jeremy Maclin number, kind of hitting this green threshold here, generally means some pretty good things for your career. Like pretty good things for your career. Let's see if I can find the one. Let's see. Yeah, I can't find the one I was looking for. But yeah. Gooch, was there anything that stuck out to you from the Dolphins game or you wanted to talk about the Dolphins game? Or anything else Chiefs related, NFL related you wanted to hit on? Other head coaching stuff?
Defense looked great. Offense looked good. For people complaining about the 27 points, if not for the block in the back that Juwan Taylor took, which caused him to fall and hit another guy in the back, which caused him to take a touchdown off the board, that game's a little even worse. I'm not going to just talk about the Chiefs, though. Shout out to the Packers, who have as many playoff wins in A&T Stadium as the Dallas Cowboys have there. Big shout out to Baker for putting on a show with bad ribs and bad ankles. Did you hear he had to have his ribs like pulled down, which means they like reach into each individual rib and basically pull his rib cage down so he could be comfortable to play in that game? You imagine the kind of pain? I mean, that's painful. You imagine what he had to endure just to show up to that game? Like, that's crazy. Just because he didn't want to miss it. Like, and a big shout out to freaking Detroit, man. I really wanted Stafford to win, kind of, but Detroit's a great story. 30 years, no playoffs, like, and I wanted Stafford to win just because he everybody said his arm was gone after last year or whatever like that, and he had been flinging it, but secretly I like that Golf won to kind of stick it to McVay. Because that look on McVay's face, because they stick the camera on him as he was walking across the field to shake Dan Campbell's hand, was amazing. It was like, dang, I traded that guy and he just beat me in the freaking playoffs. Like, he had nothing to say. It's just games are good, man. I'm surprised the Texans won. I didn't think they'd get past the Browns, which makes me really feel nervous for the Ravens. That's another team that's playing with house money because the Texans don't know what they don't know. So they're really just out there just slanging it, doing the Lord's work. They just playing football. And the Ravens should be nervous. I haven't played well, but it's all this playoff season has been crazy, and it really has produced. Aside from the Bill Steelers game, well, no, I'm not even gonna lie. Even the blowouts were interesting, which you don't normally get that. Like, the Houston game was fun to watch because it was just like the 2 pick sixes. You're like, oh my God, again? Yeah. It was good to see Baker doing well. Sucks for Jason Kelsey. And I'll be surprised if Sirianni keeps his job after all that stuff that's come out about Jalen saying he'd been begging him to change the offense and this, that, and the other. But all the games have been really, really good. Even the Chiefs game, which obviously wasn't fun to sit in or fun to play in, was still interesting to just watch those guys go at it in 30-degree wind chill. Oh, I do want to say this. For all the people that complained about not moving the Chiefs game like they moved the Buffalo game, 15 fans from that game went to the hospital for hypothermia and/or frostbite issues. 64 went from the Buffalo game. So I don't know if that's saying that we here in the Midwest, who everybody figures is dumb hicks, are smarter and know how to keep ourselves warm, or jumping through the tables up there in Buffalo really got to their head. But 79 people in total, which obviously we want them all to be well and healthy. 79 people in total had to go to the hospital for hypothermia and/or frostbite. Only 15 of them from the Midwest.
But there were more calls.
Oh, yeah, there's more calls than that, but those were more health. Those weren't hypothermia or frostbite related. They had like 100 calls, but only 15 of them were for 15 people were transported to the hospital for hypothermia or frostbite.
Yeah. I got to pull it up here. I should have had all this stuff with me, but yeah, it was interesting to see because I hadn't even seen it until like a day or so ago. I thought I had it here. Maybe not. But yeah, I thought I had it, but anyway. You want to talk about any of the supposed controversial plays from the Chiefs and Dolphins game? I really thought I put this in here.
I don't think there was anything really controversial. I mean, we didn't get a couple calls and we got a couple calls. Like, it all pretty much evened out in the wash for me. I don't really think there was anything that was like egregious. I think the roughing the passer on the 3rd and 20 on Mahomes was a little ticky-tack. Like, it seemed a little, like, even as a Chiefs fan, I was like, man, I don't know. Like, he really just kind of pushed him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't really hit him. But no, I don't think the McCole pass interference might have been frustrating. But if he would have continued to run after he was grabbed, he would have caught that pass instead of stopping to complain.
Right.
And I didn't like the one up to, man, that's just a play call. That wasn't a penalty or anything. But no, I didn't see anything really. But of course, I'm one of the few people that I'm just like not every call is a bad call. Or not every call is like, oh, that's terrible, blah, 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 blah. I think maybe because I also remind myself that you've got human eyes and you're watching guys who run 40 yards in less than 5 seconds, which means a lot of those, and when it comes to pass plays, while they're also watching the quarterback and his receivers running their routes because they want to be out of the way and stuff, a lot of that stuff happens in 2 seconds. You know what I'm saying? You just can't catch it. They're human. But no, I didn't say anything. Oh, half black, half white Oreos? What? They're at Walmart? I didn't even see them. Oh, I'm going back to Walmart tomorrow.
Trying to make this big enough for you guys here. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but the list of quarterbacks that Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen have beaten in the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes has defeated in the playoffs Andrew Luck, Deshaun Watson, Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy Garoppolo, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen twice, Ben Roethlisberger, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, and Tua Tagovailoa. I cannot say his name. Tua Tagovailoa. Was that
Tua,
close, Coach?
turn the ball over.
Sounds close enough. Josh Allen has defeated in the playoffs the following 5 quarterbacks. Phillip Rivers, when he was with the Colts, right? We got to get it in there. It was the Colts version. Lamar Jackson, Mac Jones, Skylar Thompson, and Mason Rudolph. Just throwing that one out there. I'll leave it to you guys to fill in the rest there, but I'm just throwing it out there. One more I saw that I wanted to throw. Oh, here if I can find it again. Just a little love for the guys. This is most touchdown passes in playoff games during their first 7 seasons. And Scott properly put in here that it's only his 6th season, which I greatly appreciate. Most touchdown passes in playoff games during first 7 seasons, even though he's only played in 6 of them. Patrick Mahomes has 11 more than the number 2 person on there in Joe Flacco. Brett Favre at 23, Troy Aikman at 21 with Russell Wilson as well. Josh Allen and Tom Brady. Excuse me. Josh Allen's only playing in his 6th season. Patrick Mahomes is still playing his 7th season. So
that's a crazy list.
Again, I'm not saying with any of these. I'm just saying, guys. Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to find what I was looking for here. I'll throw this one up from our guy, D-Mac, simply because it's kind of part of your scouting report for playing the Bills. So, Hannah, this might help answer part of your earlier question here. And this is D-Mac talking about this graph that we have here. That talks about how quarterbacks have produced against every major coverage this year, including playoff games, with quarterbacks currently still in the playoffs highlighted in the blue, as you can see over on the sides there. So he broke it down for us so we don't have to try to worry about zooming it in and out. So cover 3 for Josh Allen is his only instance of having a negative EPA per play for the year. Cover 2 man for Patrick Mahomes is his only instance of negative EPA per play for the year as well. And then there was a second part to this. Maybe here we go. Conversely, the Chiefs' defense best coverage this year has been cover 3, which was Josh Allen's worth. But again, the Bills have had success running cover 2 man in limited snaps. So what D-Mac just laid out for us there is Josh Allen's worst coverage to face has been cover 3. That's the Chiefs' best coverage this year, cover 3. Patrick Mahomes' worst coverage that he's faced this year has been cover 2 man. The Bills have had some success running it, but it's been limited snaps. So, question is, should we expect that we're going to see a lot of cover 2 man? And if we do you think the wide receiver room as it is today versus what it was for basically 15, 16 games of the season is different and good enough now that maybe cover 2 man will have a little bit more success?
I'll let you answer that.
You know I'm such a big show me person, Gooch. You know it took me a year and a half before I could finally trust Andy again after Super Bowl 55. So I'm not the right person to be answering this question. I'm just saying, you know it. You know how long it took me before I started to trust Andy again.
I don't even think you really trust him until after the next Super Bowl win.
That's true. So maybe a year and a half wasn't true. It was basically 2 years. It was basically 2 years. So here, I'm going to throw this one up here, Gooch, because I think this is the play that you were talking about. And someone tried to use the comparison here of a hit on Jordan Love and the hit on Patrick Mahomes. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Click on one at a time. Does that work? I don't think that works. Let me try this a different way. See if I can share the individual. There we go. Oop. So I don't know who made this clip, but you have Mahomes. All right. Ball's out there, Gooch. There's how many yards between Mahomes and the defender at this point? Wait a minute. Yeah, ball's out there. He's released the ball there. There's what? A good 4 or 5 yards between Mahomes and the defender. I think this is a key component on why you get a roughing the passer here. Like the defender has time to run around him or slow down. I think the other thing is because he pushes him from the side, right? Like it's really hard to keep your balance from the side. Whereas if you get pushed lightly from the front, you know, maybe you can still put a step back and keep your balance. I think maybe another part of it is just knowing how hard the playing surface is with how cold it is. I'm not sure though. I don't know if anyone asked the ref after the game about this play, but I do know you can see the ball is already out of his hand, and it looks like there's a good at least 3.5, 4 yards or so to where the defender has a chance to stop himself. And you get that shove, and I to me, I think the sideways shove, you know, kind of makes a difference there.
They're within 3 yards of each other, and he took 2 steps before he pushed them. So, I mean, it's not. Yeah, here's 1, 2, and then there's the push before the third step comes down. So they're probably a yard and a half away from each other. There's the first one.
Yeah, I think that's about 3 yards. 2.5. If you want to call it 2.5, fine.
And Mahomes is at least on the 41. So that would put him on the 43. Either way, I didn't think it was that bad, but you add in the playing surface was frozen and stuff like that. Like,
And again, I think part of it is that it's the push from the side, but you know, the other thing is it doesn't even look like Mahomes is looking here. Like he still looks like he's watching his watching the pass to where he doesn't even see it coming, but who knows? I don't know if I can pull up the other one though. Not that it necessarily matters, but all right. Pull this one up. So the problem with this video is you don't know, we can't tell where he actually released the ball at, right? We don't know when Love releases the ball. I don't know who made the video. I don't know if it was the person who made the tweet. But it's kind of hard to tell exactly the moment where he releases the ball because the ball's out of his hand right now. Did he just release it? Because if he did, Gooch, it's very clear. Look at their feet. They're not even a foot apart. Right? So
Yeah.
if Love had just released the ball, which we don't know because whoever made the video, I would say intentionally, made it this way. But if he just released the ball, they are way closer. I don't even think it's an argument. If you want to say Mahomes and the defender were 2.5 yards, fine. But you can't even say that they're a foot apart here on this play at the point the video starts. You also have a front push, which I think, you can see it coming. But yeah, I don't know. I would have to try to find this play to look at the beginning of it, other than what the person who tried to say these were the exact same play showed, because where the videos start, this play is not the same as the other one. That was a controversial one. The other one, I don't know if you saw, Gooch, because I spent way too much time on Twitter this last week, which means that I spent way too much time arguing with idiots, but sometimes it's worth it to debunk some of them. The other roughing the passer was questioned by people as well, not because of roughing the passer, right? Clearly, you can't hit a quarterback that low, but because people were trying to do the same thing they did last year when the Chiefs played the Bengals and Mahomes got the roughing the passer, and people started to say, but what about this holding call on Orlando Brown and Joe Thuney? The old, hey, this should be a holding call when the defender does a rip move, right? That one was a big controversy the last few days. Thankfully, people like Nate Tice and other Warriors out there let people know that the NFL does have a rule, right, that protects offensive linemen. If a defensive lineman goes to a rip move like that, the offensive lineman is allowed to hold them. It's in the NFL rule book. But that became a controversy of people trying to say that that roughing the passer should have been, negated by an offsetting offensive holding call because they don't understand or know NFL rules. And hey, listen, part of that is because the guys calling the games don't know the rules and they're not pointing those things out. Daryl says 4 yards. We're not, I mean, it doesn't matter at this point, right? And again, we don't know for sure, where the love hit starts at, or, where he releases the ball at, but at least at that point, you can, that the video starts, you can tell they're like not even a foot apart at that point. So if that's when he released the ball, it's clear those aren't the same situations. And if you want to argue that the Mahomes hit shouldn't have been, I mean, that's one thing, right? But you can't argue those are the same two plays if what we saw in the video is when the ball was released, would be my argument. Yeah. By the way, roughing the passer calls, Josh Allen has 8 this season. Mahomes has 2. So, and is that right? They both came in this game? That can't be right. That stat cannot be right. Has Patrick Mahomes really not gotten a roughing the passer call this season?
No.
But he's the most protected quarterback in the NFL, Gooch.
No, he's the face of the NFL, but he's surely not the most protected.
Yeah, he doesn't get the same face of the NFL protection that Tom Brady did. And clearly Josh Allen to an extent. Now, someone tried to point out that how many of Josh Allen's were truly roughing the passer and how many were late hits when he slides, which brings up the play, Gooch. I don't know if you saw it, where he fake slid, right? And then he ran for like an extra 10 or 15 yards. And then later in this game against the Steelers, he actually did slide and drew a very soft roughing the passer call when a player like barely grazed him.
Yeah, there needs to be a little gray area there. There was like, what game was that? Maybe it was Eagles Bucks. Somebody got a roughing the passer. Oh, yeah, Eagles Bucks. Jalen was running, and the linebacker went to go tackle him because he was still on his feet. Jalen had no intention of sliding. It was just that when he cut back, he started to fall, and the linebacker already was going into for the tackle. So then he hit Jalen as Jalen was falling, and they called that roughing the passer. Like, there has to be – that's where you would need a sky judge to be like, no. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I even think that I would think in a situation like that, even when the defender hasn't started, like you got to give him a little leeway, right? Like it takes what? A half a second, right? Of leeway for just mental processing, for your brain to interpret what your eyes are seeing, which is the quarterback starting to slide, right? I think at least a half a second of leeway should be given in all circumstances anyway, but definitely in a situation like that, I think that needs to be the case. What other people brought out is in the NCAA, they actually have a rule against this. If you fake that you're going to slide as a quarterback, you are ruled down right where you fake that you're going to slide. As I understand it. Like that's the rule. If you fake that you're going to slide as a quarterback, you're ruled down right where you do that fake. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I believe the rule is for college. And there's been a lot of people calling now for the NFL to do the same thing.
If that's the rule, that's amazing.
I'm pretty sure it is the college rule.
Because you're teaching these guys, these kids now at an age that if the quarterback starts to slide, you can't touch them. So then if they try to fake it and you ease off, and then they just pick up speed and run past you, like that's just it's an unfair competitive advantage. I love that rule. And Knight says it is a rule. So or that's how it is. So.
Yeah, I'm reading a clip from the New York Times here. The rewritten rule is basic. Anytime a ball carrier simulates or fakes a feet-first slide, the ball should be declared dead by the on-field officials at that point. So, I mean, I think that's only fair. Hey, by the way, Knight, welcome in. Maybe you've already been in here, but I think this is the first comment I've seen anyway. So that rule has reduced quarterback injuries by like 60% as well. That's interesting. But yeah, I mean, that's been kind of a bit of the talk this week is that you can't have it both ways because that penalty was huge in the game. And then because Allen did it. He faked the slide, and then later in the game, he got hit barely. Drew the roughing the passer, and then I want to say after that, he had another run, or maybe it was the first run. There was like a 60, 50, 55 yard scramble. And it's like, you can't have it both ways, right? You can't fake, I mean, that's like Mahomes faking that he's going out of bounds and then getting plastered when he takes another step inbounds or to his left, back away from out of bounds, but then wanting to get a late hit, out of bounds call. You can't have it both ways there. Slide or not. It's already hard enough to play defense. The one foul he drew was so ticky-tacky, it was really ridiculous, especially for a quarterback his size, which I suppose is, even its own, question. Like, if you're Russell Wilson, does it take as much to rough Russell Wilson as it really does to rough Josh Allen? Should they be called the same? You know what I mean? Like, is the same hit on Russ, still roughing on Josh Allen? Because he's like, what, 6, 7, 8 inches and probably 60 pounds heavier than Russ? I don't know. I'm just making that up. I don't know how much Russ weighs. 206 pounds is what the internet says. 5'11", 206 pounds. Says Josh Allen is 6'5", 238 pounds. I don't know if I believe he's 238 pounds. Do you believe that, Gooch? I don't think I believe that.
I give him 2.25.
I think he's heavier than that. Patrick Mahomes is listed at 225.
Yeah, but Patrick Mahomes is 3 inches shorter too. Probably 4.
Right. So if he's shorter though,
so 225 on him would look different than 225 on someone taller than him.
Yeah, the person taller than him would look more slender, but Josh looks way bigger than that. Like, Josh to me looks at least as big as Derrick Henry.
No, he's not that big.
He looks like it. Maybe it's the pads he wears. All right. Knight says some states have also adopted that rule for high school football. Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. That would mean breathing in Tua's direction would be a penalty. Or just looking in his direction. Yeah, that was kind of the funny thing on that. It was the 4th and 2 that was it McDuffie, I think, ended up following Tyreek and batting the ball away, that 4th and 2 in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs only brought a 2-man rush. Charles Omenihu, and I don't know who the other player was. Charles Omenihu just beat the hell out of the left tackle. And that 2-man rush was enough to flush Tua out of the pocket. Then there was a holding call. There should have been a holding call. There was a hold on the left tackle because of how bad Omenihu beat him, and he would have sacked Tua, but it was still funny because it was a 2-man rush on that play. And that 2-man rush was enough to fluster Tua. Yeah, it is a good rule. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't be playing in a super protected position and then, do something like that. Although, I mean, from a sportsmanship standpoint, like a gamesmanship standpoint, like, I think it's fun, right? Take advantage of every, loophole or whatever you have to win. It's kind of like that Detroit 2-point conversion play. Take advantage of whatever benefit you can. But from a different perspective, it's like, especially a safety perspective or another team perspective, is like, nah, you can't have it both ways. That's my opinion, though. Can you guys hear my dog barking? I don't know what you guys can hear and can't hear, but if you guys can.
I can hear the dog. I can hear my nieces and nephews.
I apologize for that. It can be a little distracting.
Oh, please, man. Everybody's got lives. Nobody's complaining.
Well, you guys have anything more in the chat you guys want to talk about? Any questions? Anything you guys want us to hit? I don't have the strongest voice tonight, but I'm trying to power through it. So, I mean, if the Chiefs can play in -25, -30-degree wind chills, who am I to miss tonight over my voice crapping out on me?
I mean, if the fans can go out in -30 and a few of them take their shirts off, and Taylor Swift can do the white version of swag surfing on TV.
Yeah, what was it? What was it that person put in the comments? That's not swag surfing. That's whitewater rafting. Somebody needs to explain to me what swag surfing is, because I have no clue. Oh, I should pull this up, Gooch. I don't know if I can. This is I don't know if I can pull this up for us, but it was one of the things I was talking about. Brian Baldinger did this breakdown about what Spags' objective was with the defense. Sorry, I'm in a lot of discords here. Turn this volume down a little bit. I don't know if I can do this. Doing Discord is kind of a different animal for me. Trying to stream from it. So is this showing up as full screen on there or bigger?
Yeah, looks like it.
All right. Because when I go full screen, I can't see our StreamYard screen. So so this is what Kansas City did the first matchup. Yeah, they're not even necessarily trying to sack him, because they know if they do, they break that pocket, he's just going to run, right? All right. Now, I guess I probably should have asked beforehand. Could you guys hear anything in that video?
No, that was a no.
Oh, no audio? I don't even know how I would add that back in there. I'm sorry. I thought you guys could hear you know what? I think how I would have to do this for there to be audio is to sign in to Discord from my browser.
Dog, I just got a notification while we are sitting here that a reporter asked Todd Bowles.
Yeah, I saw it. Go ahead, say it out loud.
Asked Todd Bowles, the head coach of the Buccaneers, how he was preparing his team to get acclimated to the weather in Detroit for the Detroit-Tampa game. And Detroit has only ever played in a dome. Oh, you can't make this up. Maybe I should be a media personality and ask questions.
Yeah, the sad thing is whoever the reporter was, they're never going to live that down. They are never going to live that down. You could question whether they should still have a job. Like, you have your biggest blunder ever, right? All right, we will try this again. And I apologize. I should have asked from the beginning if there was sound. I think I know exactly how to do this now. Because he did a breakdown. He's talking about how to do oh, maybe it's not going to work. All right. Yeah, I think that's going to work. All right. Now is it going to...
One of the objectives by Kansas City in this Week 14 matchup is they did not want Josh Allen to break out and run. Like, they had a lot of three-man rushes. Nobody's really trying to win.
Can you hear it now, Gooch? Still can't hear it?
I was hearing it. And then...
Okay. All right. I'll unpause it then. So you guys can hear Baldy explain this.
They just want Josh Allen to stay right there and force him into mistakes and incompletions. That's what he did. He ran 10 times for 32 yards. Had a long of 8 yards. But basically, Willie Gay was spying him. Like, even right here. They're just trying to keep him right there. And there goes Willie Gay when he moves, and then you get an incompletion. Don't let Josh Allen beat you in the run game, like Pittsburgh giving up a 52-yard touchdown run. Then we're going to let even Chris Jones right here. He's just pushing the pocket. He's not trying to escape. And now Josh Allen, under pressure, eventually throws the ball away. Now, here's a three-man rush. Willie Gay is the spy. All right, he's spying Josh Allen. Again, they're just trying to keep him right there in that spot, not let him break out. Now, when he does break out right here, this is what they wanted. They get this interception by Connor right there. All right? They got the turnover they wanted. But you watch it, even with 18 seconds to go in the half, there's a spy. Willie Gay.
Good stuff.
Linebacker. Maybe their fastest linebacker. Like, keep Josh Allen there. And then when he breaks out, all right, you make him throw an errant throw. One more. Did a lot of different ways. But they were not going to let Josh Allen, even on this quarterback draw right here, they had the perfect double twist on. Perfectly timed. Here comes Dana. Here comes Karlaftis. Down goes Josh Allen. They did a good job of containing Josh Allen in the run game. It was a prime objective. They did that. You know, they lost the game 20-17.
So I talked about that a little bit at the beginning-ish part of the show. But yeah, Gooch, they did use Willie Gay as a spy there. Kind of saw that the defensive line were picking their spots, right? He's showing some plays. Obviously, the defensive line was rushing Josh at times. Other times they were just engaging and kind of read and reacting there to keep Josh in the pocket and keep, their guy anchored until Josh tried to break the pocket and then he was met by Willie Gay, right? So I'm really interested to see, especially if Gabe Davis is out for this game and that's one less threat you have to worry about. Of course, you still got to figure out, how you're going to stop Dalton Kincaid, who I want to say is hit like the 80 reception mark. I think I'm right in saying that. But I'm interested to see if they have a similar game plan. Now, Nick Bolton was coming back from IR. That was his first game back. No Drew Tranquil in this game, right? So I'm interested to see how the game plan changes with a completely healthy Nick Bolton and having Drew Tranquil back, with Willie in there. Are we going to play less dime? Are we going to play more 4-3 or, try to find other ways to keep our linebackers out there? Maybe we play 4-2-5 and Drew Tranquil is in the secondary like he did where he played in college. I'm interested to see what Spags does to switch it up. But as I said earlier, especially for those of you guys who joined us, I think it was Nick Jacobs and Matt Derrick did a YouTube video, I think Monday, where they were like talking about this game, and they talked about the idea of having both out there at the same time, having two green dots out there, two guys who play Mike linebacker, so that you can just add an extra layer of complexity for Josh Allen. He can't just look for Nick Bolton when he's out there or Drew Tranquil when Nick Bolton's not out there. All of a sudden, you have two guys. One of them could be the Mike, and the other one, could be the Mike the next play. Pre-snap, it might look like Bolton's the Mike, and right before you snap it, they rotate, right? There was a cool play in the Dolphins game, Gooch. I don't know if you saw it, where so Spags showed Tua cover 2, right before the snap, and I don't remember which player it was, but the one safety comes up, the other one goes back, pre-snap still, right before Tua snaps it, where he can still see it, into a cover 1 look. As soon as Tua snaps the ball, right, so you got one safety coming in, down, the other one's coming back up into a cover 1. As soon as they snap the ball, they like invert. So the safety that came down then came up the other side and played cover 2 on the other side, while the safety that came up to cover 1 just moved over. So they went from a cover 2 look to a cover 1 look pre-snap, back to a cover 2, swapping sides of the field. And that was the play, I believe, the same play we were talking about where earlier, maybe not. It was the play, I want to say, that Justin Reed had the interception. Or no, Mike Edwards, sorry. The Mike Edwards had his interception on. That was enough that Tua was like, what the hell did I just see? They went from cover 2. They showed cover 2. They were rolling into cover 1 right before he snapped the ball, and he saw it. And then the guys just take off to the opposite sides of the field and they go back into cover 2. So that's the kind of stuff that Spags was doing to have fun at Tua's expense. I'm really excited to see what new layer he throws at Josh Allen. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Gooch, anything you want to hit? And I'm out of water too, so yeah, Gooch, if you don't have anything else you want to talk about, Chad, if you guys don't have anything more for us, I'm going to let Gooch go ahead and pay the bills here.
I don't have anything. Appreciate y'all for hanging with us tonight. Appreciate Keys starting her out, even though he doesn't feel good. Sending prayers his wife's way, who doesn't feel well today and still had to take care of the kids and allowed us to do this, which is amazing. Shout out to all y'all. Hope you're staying warm and staying safe. Appreciate y'all watching this content, whether religiously or in passing. Make sure you tell somebody you love them. 2024 is going to be a good year. Take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you in the next one.
We'll be back.
You got your team, and we got a kingdom. Ready for war, we score at will. We're the Super Bowl champs, the king of the hill.